to be a giver. Sometimes our darkest things, that's what God uses to mold us, to correct us, to discipline us, to build character and integrity. So Ruth wasn't remembered just simply because she had intentions. She wasn't remembered because she had a pretty face, but she was remembered because she took a risk. And the story of Ruth is a story of redemption. It's not just a story of romance, it's a story of redemption. All that Boaz did was what Israelites did in that time. Everything he did was a part of the law, and that's what you did when you were a widow. All that Boaz did was step into the place that God had already ordained. Everything Ruth did when she went to the threshing floor, it was all customary for that time when you were a widow. And that's the thing we don't understand, because we don't begin to understand the history and the context of what was already law at that time. You have to begin when you read your Bible to understand the context around the story. I'm not saying we shouldn't hype Boaz up, but I'm saying that everything he did was basically customary to what you did when you were interacting with a widow. Because of Ruth's obedience, because of her listening to Naomi, her mentor, she went to the threshing floor and laid at Boaz's feet, which was customary when a widow, was saying, "Will you take me as your wife?" basically. Boaz checked with the next of kin. He didn't want it, and so Boaz stepped in. But it was what God had already ordained for Ruth. So when you begin to take risks, when you begin to say yes, you walk in something that God has already ordained for you to have. Boaz was always hers. He was always going to be provided. All Ruth had to do at the crossroads was this instead of this. All you have to do at the crossroads to get all that God has for you is this instead of this. All you have to do to be all that God has called you to be as a woman of God when you're at your darkest place is this instead of this. All you have to do. One foot in front of the other. Ruth had never been there before. She didn't know what it was going to be like, but she took a risk. Yes, she did. And she stepped forward. And she acted instead of intending. Women of God, that's all that I would declare for you today. Is that continue to walk forward. Continue to act. Forget about fear. Forget about the enemy trying to hold you back. Forget about limitations. All you have to do, if you don't know nothing else, you don't need to look to the right or to the left. Look forward and keep marching in all that God has called you to be. Thank you so much, Arlinda. Thank you.